Good morning, everybody. What is up? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And since 2020, our team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 300,000 fathers and dads and male caregivers around the world. I also am a featured content contributor to the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube channel. So subtitle a voice for Black women. That's what it's called, I believe, the tagline. And that is run by Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. And that platform has over 580,000 subscribers. And also, I am a featured content contributor to the Indie Soup Media Television on Demand network that you can see on Facebook, YouTube. There's the website address there, and also Roku. So it's quite crazy. Last week when it debuted, and there I was sitting watching myself on TV. It's kind of cool. So just want to tell everybody my combined reach now of my content, including the Good Men Project, is over 5 million individuals. So we like that. So as always, like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles and solution for someone's problem, some other housekeeping stuff. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and hit the not Facebook. Sorry, I made a mistake. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also follow and subscribe on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. As always, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on the platform, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe@the.vibeshow.com. And also join our Discord chat group where we continue the conversation offline. So again, email me, dr.vibe@the.vibeshow.com. Little bit of an announcement here, and it relates as Wayne Harris is coming up. This Saturday, the Walnut Foundation, who's a Black men's organization who is dedicated to educating and trying to reduce something called prostate cancer, especially with Black men, is holding an event this Saturday. It's going to take place at the Durham Community Center, 115 Grassmere Avenue, Oshawa, Ontario, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Now, I actually they've had two other events. Well, three. They had two at the Jamaican Canadian Association and one at Taibu Health Clinic. And I went to the most recent one at the Jamaican Canadian Association. Well attended. Very, very well attended. And got my chest done in about, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks after. Got this call from UHN, the University Health Network. I'm going, hope everything's okay. And they said, yeah, your reading is great, etc. Don't need to get a check for a few years. So Black men, especially if you're Black men over 40 years old, and also enough Black men I know who don't have a doctor, this could be the start of you turning your health around. So I really want to encourage that in regards to that event. So want to say thank you to the Walnut Foundation for everything that they do. And hopefully we're going to have Ryan in at the bottom of the hour. If not, I know right now he's usually on Fridays walking the kiddos to school. So make sure you're doing that. Hey, good morning, JJ Mars from Colorado. Have not seen you for a bit. How's weather in Colorado? We're supposed to be having spring here. It's sunny outside, but it's not spring weather. We've had warmer weather at the end of winter than we're having now at the beginning of spring. So hope you are doing fine and safe. Let's see if we got anything else going on today. Oh yes, coming up on Monday's show, our monthly visit from Carolyn Nicole from Energy Shack Juice Bar. And she's going to be talking about busting belly fat. Yes, that's a very important thing for a lot of guys I know and some ladies. So I don't bring it up because my mom told me two things when it comes to ladies: never talk about their age and their weight. So I stay away from those two things. And when I say that to a lady, they say, "Oh, you were raised right." I go, "I hope so. I hope so." And let's see what other we got on comment wise. Oh, yes. So JJ Mar says it's warm today. All right. Well, you know what? Let's get right at it because our friend, Mr. Wayne Harris, is with us today. And I always like to give him as much time because he always shares so much knowledge when it comes to economics. And economics is so key. We're going to go deep into a recent, I mean, really recent report about Black economics in North America. So let me bring a very cool and debonair looking Mr. Wayne Harris. How are you, sir?
Sir, yes, sir. Coming to you from Ocho Rios, Jamaica. Me crazy. Yeah, it's tough life out here. It's tough life out here. Had to have my strawberry daiquiris at the pool bar and pina coladas at the sports bar, and just down by the beach, and the water's real nice down here. Just getting my melanin and my vitamin D in. It's all good.
Okay.
I heard the weather up there is nice.
Yeah. Oh, should I say facts? Yeah. Well, no, you know what? You and Angie absolutely deserve it. And as I was saying to Wayne before we came on live earlier on this week, I had a chance to have a conversation with the Minister of International Trade and Tourism and from Jamaica. He said, "Oh, I'm coming you from sunny Montego Bay." I go, "Okay, like relax, just relax." But they're having their upcoming, their 10th biennial conference for diaspora, for the diaspora, and they're really trying to encourage not only foreign Jamaicans but also people to come and invest in Jamaica. So, what have you seen economics wise down there, sir? If you've had any time, I do want you to relax.
Yeah. No, I always from Sangster Airport to the hotels, I look on both sides of the road when I'm on the bus
Absolutely.
to see all the unfinished buildings that have been started and are incomplete. And I think I mentioned I mentioned this before with Ray. It's very difficult for foreigners to get mortgages locally in Jamaica. So the foreigners who are coming back home, some of them, they usually go one of three places. They go to England, they go to the United States, or they go to Canada for the most part. And they have to finance these houses on their own. So if you are in the UK, Jamaica is not going to give you a mortgage. You have to make your money in the UK, get your money to Jamaica, then watch the trades build while you're here. You're here for 3 weeks, and you got to go back. They stop working. And then you go back home, you come back next year, they continue to build. So what should take 6 months could take 6 years because of all the back and forth and the lack of governance, I'll say, of the construction industry when you're not present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got
So
it.
that's one. The other thing is people are retiring and dying, and there's no living will, and power of attorney in Jamaica. So for those of you who have assets in foreign countries, your grandmother's home, your parents' home, and it's in a foreign country, whatever you have in the USA, Canada, and UK, that paperwork for your estate plan will not help you in Jamaica. You need to have Jamaican paperwork.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
They're going to look at that paper and go, and what does that mean, Ontario? I don't even know how to spell Ontario when you come down here. You better have something that says Falmouth, Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, or you're going to be in for a protracted legal battle. Ask Bob Marley.
Yes.
He's still in probate.
Yep. Just to catch up, you've been doing a little bit of traveling. I've been keeping up with you on traveling.
Man,
and what's been going on, man? It's like the Wayne Harris tour.
Buddy, my daughter goes, your man's is out there in them streets. She'll say to me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm out there. Here's the beautiful thing about having adult children. They can hang back, they can go on their own, they can come with us, whatever they want to do. So we're now in in phase one was I was single and free to mingle. Phase two is I got married. Phase three is I had kids. Phase four is I have adult kids. Yeah. Phase five is grandkids. We're not at phase five. We're at phase four. So until they do something, me and the mama, we're out living our best life.
And you also said before we came on, your son is graduating soon, so congratulations to that.
Yeah, and yeah, he's at York doing his master's in economics. So anybody who is an economist or knows an economist in Canada, my son has an undergrad in computer science and a soon-to-be master's in economics. He's going to combine those two to make a very powerful algorithmic statement for data that will serve the diaspora.
Well, what a good man. You're such a good friend. Nice segue. We're going to be chatting about some data today. So yes. I knew Wayne was away. I say, Wayne, well, I didn't know he was, I'm in Jamaica, but he sent me a link to a document and said, okay, this is perfect timing to chat about this. So Wayne's going to be speaking about today, a recent report by Deloitte called, well, actually, it's not the Black Economic Wealth Gap. Well, we're going to speak to Canada, but I'm going to change the title, but the Black Economic Wealth Gap, especially in North America. So give us some background on this.
Yeah, I'm a Deloitte alumni. As you know, I worked for Deloitte a number of years back in the early 2000s. And Deloitte is one of the preeminent consulting firms on the planet. Traditionally, audit, tax, and risk is their focus, and massive consulting projects, so big technology deployments and governance around that technology. And I worked for them back in the day, and this firm is one of what they call the big four firms. So you would have Deloitte, Pricewaterhouse, KPMG, Ernst & Young are the big four accounting firms, Deloitte being the biggest of them all. And they've come up with some very, very salient data about the Black experience within education and income in Canada and the United States. And as you know, in Canada, we are very, very hesitant to provide race-based statistics. We seem to want to shy away from it, but the Americans, they are all about it, and they will give you all the numbers. So let's get into the numbers. You can put it up on the
we're going to put it up on screen, and just go through it as we're having this conversation. So there we go. Here we go. All right, and let's start. So I'm going to be, I guess, for people who are old enough, I'm going to be your Vanna White today. So
Perfecto.
You tell me where you want me to go to slide-wise. This is what the document looks like, family. I'll be sending a link during the conversation where you can actually look at it. You can, I think you may be able to download it, but at least I would say if you're serious about your future and Blacks, Africans, and North Americans' future, you need to watch this. Wayne, go ahead.
Perfecto. Thank you. So, Dr. Vibe, if you could get rid of the banner, that is the red banner on the bottom, that will allow people to see the bottom of the
I'm going to do that right now because we'll do that. Okay,
so
here we go.
You can see that this report is like fresh off the block. It's like February 22nd, 2024. So it's less than 6 weeks old. So if you can scroll up a little bit to introduction so they can see what it's all about. All right, go the other way. Next slide. Keep going. All right, here we go. So basically, we're looking at education, employment, and income. So for the Americans who are on here today, and for the Canadians who are on here today, you want to know what your education is worth. So I have 2 kids, and we've dropped, thank goodness for a scholarship for my daughter. But what would have been $200,000 in education for undergraduate work for them to go away and go to school. Had they stayed in the GTA and gone to school, Greater Toronto area, it would have been half price. But we paid in rent and food and room and board and all those good things for them to go an hour outside of Toronto. Just an hour. Could they have commuted? They could have. But I never got the away at school experience. I did the commuter college and university thing, and the fact that they could be on campus and have friends and stay in the dorm and build those relationships. Now my son is now experiencing some of those kids getting engaged and getting married, and they're very, very tight because they spent 4 years together studying together in the trenches, scared of their exams. So we're looking at the key drivers of the Black economic wealth gap in the United States and Canada. Now, for those who don't know the U.S. history of income disparity, there are a number of programs put in place to ensure Blacks would have to play catch up for most of their life. The first and foremost inhibitor of Black wealth would be 400 years of slavery. How about that? How about 400 years of slavery? So you can't make money. You can work, but you cannot make money. Second thing, slavery is now over. Great. So what we're going to come up with is a new institutional program for racism, and this is called Jim Crow. So we're going to do that for 100 years. Okay. Now, so 1865 to 1965, we're going to run Jim Crow, separate and unequal. And even if you're in the North, you're going to get paid less. Okay. Then we're going to bring in a few other things. How about redlining? So you can't live in certain neighborhoods and can't get mortgages in certain places. People will not sell or rent to you in certain neighborhoods. And those neighborhoods in the United States are based on the tax base. So if the tax base is strong, the schools are great. If the tax bases are weak, the schools are terrible. We're going to do that since 1965. Okay. Now let's add, we had sundown cities, but we won't get into that. But redlining and gerrymandering of the voting districts, this is a way that you can keep certain people in power. As you know, in America, you have a two-party system, red and blue, red being Republican, blue being Democrat, and they have various histories of doing things for and against the diaspora, depending on what serves them. But with all that aside, let's just look at education, employment, and income. Let's take it to the next slide, Dr. Ryan.
Before we go any further, two points. So one comment here, and Dr. Tachi is a professor herself. She says education is unnecessarily expensive. What are your thoughts on that?
Education used to be free until the Civil Rights Act. So people could go to Harvard and Yale and all these places for next to nothing. Prices started to go up in the 60s when Blacks started to enter those places and spaces. So if I don't have those statistics, but if you were to go back and see what it costs to go to Harvard in 1944 or 1954, it would pale in comparison to what it cost in 1984, 94, or 2014 or 2024. So the price started to go up to create a barrier of access to the Ivy League or better schools. But those schools were negligible cost before the 1960s and integration. Another barrier that no one will talk about on some of these other platforms that talk about, pull up your bootstraps and stop crying and bemoaning how unfair it is when we have multimillionaires and billionaires in the Black community. Yes, this is true. But Pareto's law, the 80-20 rule, 80% of us are not LeBron James. Sorry, 99.9% of us are not LeBron
Thank you.
James.
That's better.
99.9% of us are not Michael Jackson or Drake, right? And again, or Oprah. We are allowed to make money in places and spaces that serve the powers that be, which means when you find Black millionaires outside of sports and entertainment, most people
few and far between.
Don't know. Yeah, we have them, but most people don't know about them.
Right.
Okay. So let's
right.
Go to the next slide.
And one other point, you talked about how much you paid for your kids to go to school in Canada. How much would it be if it was in the United States, even if you lived in the United States?
Yeah, the Americans can speak to this better than I can, but I know that if you go to school in state, you'll pay the least amount. So if you live in New York and go to school in New York, you'll pay the least amount. Same in Canada. If you live in Quebec, you will pay much less than if someone comes from Ontario to Quebec. And if someone comes from another country to Quebec, you're going to pay the foreign student prices.
And those costs, we won't even get I've seen them.
Yeah, they are very, very high because those people have not paid into the tax base to fund the school. So they have to pay a higher rate because they did not pay from K to 12 school taxes to the system. So it's fair that they should pay more because they should not be subsidized because they didn't pay anything into the system. Okay. But my kids are about $25,000 a year all in per year at school. If they go away, cut that in half if they stay at home. If you think about someone going to school at TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University, aka Ryerson, and they don't live in Toronto and they can't commute, to pay rent for that school is almost impossible when you look at a one bedroom going for $2,400 a month. So what student can pay that? Well, foreign students can.
It's before we go to that next slide. Interesting. I'm assisting a student, and she is going to TMU. She lives in Barbados. She's here. She's taking 6 courses and working working 20 hours a week. And she came to me the other day and says, you know, I'm in severe mental anxiety. She has a therapist. I'm going, my gosh, at this age.
They're not making it easy. This is a policy by our federal government to bring in more immigrants than the economy and housing can digest. And Ray can speak to that. Ray McMillan can speak to that more than I can. But I can tell you this, that unless you're going to go to in Upper Rubber Boot, Ontario, right? So you're going to go to Laurentian or a Lakehead or a Nipissing. You're going to go to school out there. You're going to find places to rent at a fair price. But if you're going to be anywhere in a ring of fire, like south of Steeles, east of 427, west of Port Union, and then you have the water to the bottom, you're going to be in that zone. You're going to pay a hefty price to be able to go to school. And U of T Scarborough is probably a better option than U of T Toronto or U of T Mississauga.
That's my graduating school.
There you go. Because U of T Scarborough, at least you can be. There should be a lower cost to live there.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I remember when I applied for university, I applied a few places, and I wanted to go to U of T downtown. I got Scarborough, and I was so disappointed. I'm glad I went to U of T Scarborough, cost-wise, even back then. But let's continue on. Let's get to our next slide. Here we go. So we got U.S. Okay, let's start here. You want to look at the U.S. here?
All right, so take a look.
Okay.
So it's very small for me, so you're going to have to read it out.
Okay, so the percentage of Black Americans completing a college degree or higher has increased by 24% between 2017 and 2022 compared to a national average increase of 15%. So
this is great that we were going to school. Here's the challenge. Those are probably 70% women. Now that's missing, right? So people say, oh, look at the data, look at the data. Well, the data is missing gender because what happens is these are a lot of girls. And that's great until they graduate and come out with great paper. And now they make more than the guys that they're looking to date. And that creates a whole new show. We're not going to talk about that today. But when the women come out and there's a culture, a South Asian culture, that the women, if they have more paperwork than the guys won't even touch them. They won't talk to them. So the women have to make a decision that I can go as far as master's, but if I go PhD or I become a doctor, understand this. I am regulated to only dating doctors or above if I go to PhD. But if I go to master's and someone has a master's or a PhD, I have a double cohort that I can be with. But no one with a bachelor's male is dating anybody with a master's or PhD that's female. They're not doing it.
Serious.
Now, I'm going to ask our audience, is that true in the Black community as well? Because I would have to say, based on what I'm seeing out there, it's pretty true. The lady has doctor in front of her name. The men are going to go, yeah, I'm out, because they are not looking for that intellectual prowess on a daily basis, shall we say. But ladies,
That's
I'll
a
let you guys put it in the comments. Let me
whole
know.
other show, brother. You
Yeah.
know where you, but you know what? The family is here. First of all, just want to say Fitness IQ Cam, morning, gentlemen, and everyone. KSF, EYL, RWFQ, KOK. There you go. Also, well, Dr. Tachi says what you just shared is really sad. And then Roger Dundas, what's wrong with women earning more than men in a relationship? You see, we're going into that territory now.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's
Okay.
go. Because I'll tell you, when I first met my girlfriend, now wife, she had one of those gourmet. This is Montreal. So for the Montrealers who are out there, shout out to them. She had a hospital job. And a hospital job was on the weekend. You work 7 to 3 doing something in housekeeping or whatever. And you were making twice what anybody was making anywhere else. And she had a hospital job. And I was working at McDonald's for $5 an hour. And she was working for $10 an hour at the hospital. And honestly, the hospital was so slack that you would work, you get paid for 7.5 hours, but you really worked about 2 or 3. It was probably the biggest line for anybody, and you made really, really good money. How did you know someone had a hospital job in Montreal in the 80s? When we went to the club, they had a leather jacket. That's how we knew, because I couldn't afford one, bro. They had one. So when she was making that money, I felt away, because I'm making $5 an hour. So I had 2 jobs, working for the city of Montreal. Shout out to the city of Montreal Parks and Rec. And I was working there, and I was working at McDonald's. And she was still making more money than me. I felt away. And then finally, when I got to a point where we started having children and she slowed down with the work, I went supernova with my income. My manhood came back. My chest hair started to grow back. I don't know, it's just me. No one. My father never told me that. My mother never told me that. It's just something that I felt it was really off-putting for me to know that she had a car and I was taking the bus. I felt less of a guy at the time, and I was 19 at the time. So let's put it in context, right? I'm fully grown now, and if she made more money than me, I'd be like Hercules, because I'm like, go make that money, mama. But that's how I felt. I felt like my masculinity was being challenged, Roger. To be honest,
but he also follows up. Why did you feel that way?
Yeah. I just said it. I felt like from a social convention perspective, in a traditional relationship, the man should be breadwinner. Now that's the way I felt 40 years, almost 40 years ago. Next year will be 40 years. Okay. I've obviously evolved, right? Which is why I stay married. But that's how I felt.
So Fitness IQ goes, ask the younger generation, Roger, LOL. On this topic. Also, we have a new, a gentleman I've talked with offline, but a friend from the Jamaican Council here in Toronto. Kurt says, I never had an issue for many years as my wife earned more than me, much, much more, perhaps because of the partnership approach and the mutual respect that we had.
Yeah. I'm all for it. Like, I'm evolved now, but I was full caveman back in the day. All right, let's go to the next slide.
All right, no problem. And also frequency event promotions. Yes, good morning to you. And excited. Look, congratulations on your big event happening tomorrow night. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend, but let's go to the next slide, because I can already see that this is going to be a rather involved conversation.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
All right, so let's get it back up. I took it off for a second, so let's get it back on, and let's go to our next slide here. So here we go. U.S. unemployment. So they're saying we are seeing increasing representation of Black Americans in leadership positions in the U.S., including executive and managerial roles across various companies. Anything you want to comment about? Oh, okay. I'll actually put the graph.
Can you see the?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. So I guess the top portion of each bar graph is Hispanic. Next down to that is Asian. The black is black, and then the bottom is white. Any comments in different industries?
My comments are: look at where power lies. The power lies in the chief executive. Okay, and look at our percentage there. Look at the support. So there's something called line and staff. If you remember managerial industrial relations 101, line is a function of the business. So the finance is a function, IT is a function, Research is a function. Engineering is a function. Human resources is a function, but it's a function that supports all other functions. So it's called staff, line and staff. We excel at staff, but staff has no power. Staff is there to serve the function, line and staff. So you want to be a line manager, preferably to a staff manager, because a staff manager needs a line manager to give them the mandate because you're supporting the line. So look at our numbers in staff. Human resources, big numbers. Look at education administration, big numbers. We're in healthcare. I'm going to assume that's a lot of nurses and PSWs and all the other things that we're doing in that space. Look at property and real estate and so forth. Numbers are small. So you can see where we're going. We're going to the path of least resistance. If you look at HR is predominantly at the lower rankings, female, but at the very top, male. Very interesting. And I saw that across Canada. Everybody at the front line was female, 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 female. And then when I get to the top, I meet the HR VP, a guy. Because the seat at the table is a top position in HR. DEI.
Well, you're reading my mind. I'm glad you're going into this.
Right. So DEI and what's happened in the last 4 years since George Floyd has expanded our presence in HR. Now, you know what's going on in the United States with affirmative action being challenged. And there was a lot of us who, I don't know if we benefited from it, because the meritocracy is if you're good, you're good. And if you're not, you're not. And I don't know of any positions that I got, save one when I worked at the Bank of Canada as a co-op. There was a box there that said, if you're Black or Indigenous, check here. And I checked Black. And when I walked into that place, I was the only brother in the room. And that was 1987 that I did that. Other than that, it was my resume. Nobody had pictures on LinkedIn. You didn't know I was Black until I showed up, right? Yeah. So you can see the numbers are higher in education, healthcare, human resources. It's kind of where we roll.
You know, it's interesting. 2 points. I know enough African or Black women that got jobs a few years ago in DEI that don't have them anymore.
Correct.
Right. I know someone, I won't give the person's name. She took a job, it's about a year and a half ago, and she's very good at HR, DEI stuff at Walmart. Okay. I guess I've said it out to her, but I won't say the company again. At a major company, one of the top 10 in Canada, especially retail wise. And she left in 6 months.
Oh yeah. Because
go ahead.
What you learn, Dr. Vibe, is there's title, and there's power. And there's a gap between the two. So people have big titles, even big salaries, but no power, because the mandate comes from the chief executive officer. And if they don't buy in and they don't sponsor it, there's a little bit of ticky boxes that are being checked off.
Yeah.
And then there's real work that needs to be done. Most people are just saying, my bonus is tied to the ticky box, not to actual effective programs. And you'll see people with the window dressing of DEI, but you won't see any mandate behind it.
Okay.
And that's kind of sad.
Dr. Tachi says, notice that education has a larger share than any of the other fields, still dominated by non-melanated people.
Sure. Because if you want to be CEO, Black man, Black woman, start a company.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. There you
but
go.
If you're gonna go into someone's spaces and want to be on top, you can get there. We have people who have done it, but more entrepreneurship and more companies beyond just small enterprises, more bigger companies that have full HR and full sales and okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, this slide here. So United States education, despite gains in education and employment, Black Americans still trail other racialized groups in terms of average earnings across all levels of education. So in this graph.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see the black line is very bold, and it's at the bottom at all levels, with not in high school. You can see that the white, not a high school graduate, is almost equal to the some college or associate degree black individual. That's got to be disheartening. And then if you look at an advanced degree for a black person, they're making the same money as somebody who has no high school diploma who's white. Think about that. If that doesn't disturb you, I mean, Americans, if you're on this call, please pipe in, because I'm looking at these numbers, and the far right advanced degree is somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000, and I look at the white person who has no high school, and they're almost at $30,000 with a high school, but with just an associate degree, they're pulling up on $45,000 a year.
Yeah,
with an associate degree.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So we're doing okay, but we're at 50 G's. We're at 50 G's to compared to their 50,000. They're in 2021, and we're right there.
Yeah,
that's got to be disheartening.
Yeah, that was one of the slides that sort of made me just shake my head when I saw it. It was really disheartening. So let's move on further. Oh, even better. United States. So household net worth in U.S. remains unbalanced. I love that word, unbalanced, among population groups. In 2021, the median net worth of Black households was $24,000 compared to the national average of $166,900. The variance reflects stark differences in wealth accumulation from income, home equity, and other investments, which is carried over generations. So let me just move this down.
Okay.
So again, talk about it, Wayne.
Listen, the bottom line is this: if you couldn't own anything, you're supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. If you have 40 acres and a mule in some of the best states in terms of agriculture in the United States, and you had that since 1865, that would be worth tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, because people would have consolidated the land together and grown together cooperatively, right? But they were under a little bit of pressure, a little something called the Ku Klux Klan, maybe, a little bit something called no reparations, and these people are starting from literally zero for 100 years. So look at the net worth for Asians who, again, they've been here for a while. They helped build the railroads in the West, and they also, they had tax and they got reparations for that. If you look at white, again, they've been here from time doing their thing, right? Then you look at Hispanic, who have also been exploited. But last I checked, every Hispanic in the United States knows where they came from in Latin America. They're Mexican, they're Guatemalan, they're Ecuadorian, they're Bolivian, they're Colombian. They know. And they can get on a boat or get on a plane, and they can go back to where they came from once they have the appropriate paperwork. So yes, they have been exploited as well. The Chinese have been exploited, but the Chinese knows where they come from in China. As a Latin American knows where they come from in Latin America, but an African descent does not know where they come from. And one of the things that we have to look at in these stats is, are these American Black? Or are these African Black? Or are these West Indian Black? We need to dig deeper, because I think the outcomes for those three groups are very, very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So Dr. Tachi says, shame. It also says that if you're non-melanated, all you have to be is mediocre. Now tell me the system is not set up for failure for people of color.
The non-melanated, great point. The non-melanated have something called advocacy. I was by the pool yesterday, and I met a young lady from Delaware. And I asked a question: whenever I see Black folks around here, if you can afford to be at this resort at this time of year, right, you're doing okay. So if you're doing okay, I want to know what you do. That's just me. I said, so how is it for you where you're from? They tell me where they're from: Texas, Tennessee, Atlanta, wherever. And I have yet to hear anybody say to me, it's amazing. We've turned the corner. We're in a post-racial society. Anything that I do or don't do is based on my own efforts and my own merit, and everything is equal and fair. I've been here a couple of days. I've yet to hear it. I've met engineers. I've met program managers. So as a project manager of project managers, she was working in this company 17 years. She's an AVP, and she is trying to get to VP. And she is pushing on this glass ceiling, and they won't let her in. I said, how is it possible for you not to be a VP after 17 years in this company? Your track record is beyond reproach. And she told me, well, I had some advocacy, and all those people who were above me, who were advocating for me, got dismissed summarily in the last 18 months. And that was a brand new group of people. Yep. And those people are bringing in their people.
Yep.
And I went, wow. I said, so the new people are not giving you any grace for everything you did before they got there, and bringing in their own people and bringing them in at the level you aspire to.
Yep.
Okay, so now on the surface, looks like racism, right? Looks like racism. Then I said to her, who's your mentor at the company? Because you had a compelling event 18 months ago. Nothing you can do about that. Who's your mentor? She goes, I don't have one. I said, okay, if you don't have a mentor, who's your sponsor? She goes, I don't have one. I said, so what you're saying to me is you want to go to the club, and the people who hold the tickets to get into the club, you have no relationship with them. She goes, yeah. I said, what courses have you taken on understanding the perspective of vice presidents and above? I said, I think you have a great understanding of your level and below, but what do you understand about the key performance indicators of what it takes to be at the higher level?
Yeah.
I said to her, 80% of what you do as an AVP is irrelevant at VP. Has someone told you what the 80% for VP is? And are you doing projects that help you show that muscle? And her response to me was no. I said, who is your executive coach? She goes, they haven't provided me with one. I said, no. This is not their job to provide you with an
her job.
It's your job to go and find somebody to give you what you need. Now, again, is it fair? It is not fair. I'm sure there's people in the company who have mentors, who have sponsors, and who have informal or formal executive coaching. But this is a very intelligent lady.
Absolutely.
I'm sitting at the pool. She got her two sons there. They've been private school educated. One is going to university in the fall, and they've done everything right. But then I listen to her and I go, she doesn't understand the assignment. You don't push your way into the echelon. You get pulled. You don't push. You can push to $200,000 a year as an executive, but to get more than 200, to get to big boy, big girl money, 200 to 500 to $1 million, you need to be pulled. You need to be tapped on the shoulder and sponsored. Anybody can come on here and tell me otherwise. I'll sip my tea literally, because I've been in that game for 25 years before I got out, and I can tell you that you need to be pulled out. If you're going to play the corporate game,
you got to play chess, not checkers.
All right. So I said to her, what courses have you taken to help you get a better understanding of the next level? She goes, none. I said, what books are you reading, nonfiction, that give you insights onto the mindset of what you want to go into? She said, none. I said, what conferences have you been to where you can network with your competition and do great things, maybe be a keynote speaker at these conferences, so companies want to approach you and poach you? Because if you've been there 17 years, I can guarantee your salary is lower than anybody else coming into that company.
Wow.
And she looked at me and she went, I got some work to do. I said, yeah. I said, we're at the pool. We're at the pool in Ochi. You've got some work to do, because as smart, as intelligent as she is, she doesn't understand the game that is being played at the next level, which is why she's not the last level. I said, listen, she goes, I'm doing this thing. It's digital transformation. It's a global role. I said, who can do what you do other than you? She goes, nobody. I said, so why would I promote you? You make me look good. I get my bonuses because you were there.
You. That's right.
So if you don't have, I said, do you have a run book of policies and procedures that you've created so you could groom your successor so you can move? She goes, no. I go, and then she looked at me. She went, I need your number.
Said, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. I said, I got you. I got you. Because to me, it's crystal clear. But to her, she didn't see it.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting. Few points before we move on next slide. I'm concerned for her position in that company.
Well, she should be because
there's a whole new regime that's come in.
Correct.
And as you said, they got their own people. It's just like NFL. Hey, if you're a quarterback for a team, the coach or the general manager, let's go. You're not safe, or you're drafted by one general manager and a different general manager comes in. Hey, right. He didn't hire you. He's got someone better. And then it's interesting. You talk about 80-20. She's done 80%, but the thing that she's missing is the 20%.
And no one's telling her what's missing. So I said to her, I said, you were unconsciously incompetent after 17 years. You are now consciously incompetent. Because what I told you, have I told you any lies? She goes, everything you said was on point. I said, are you hearing it today for the first time? So are you today years old? She goes, I'm today years old. I said, all right. All right, then. So if a stranger can be at the beach in Jamaica and give you the kung fu you need to get to the next level, it tells me that, I said, you're the queen of the worker bees, right? But in order to play with the thinker bees, you got to show thinker bee muscle. Worker bee muscle has no place at the thinker bee level. Exactly. Right? You're a technician. You do what you do really, really, really well. And all those people get bonuses because you control and come in. She goes, my boss doesn't know anything about my area. I said, if your boss doesn't know anything about your area, you're going to stay in that area because as long as you make your boss look good, he's not going to move you. He can't. It's self-preservation. Rule number 1, make your boss look good. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. It's pretty simple.
Okay,
right?
Let's get some comments. We'll get to the next slide. Robert Bennett says, it's rigged, but we still have to play in their crooked casino of life. Roger Dundas says, we're from Africa. And Dr. Tachi says, wow, even with so much schooling, these are the things they don't teach you. It's the same thing in academia. They don't teach you the fine points of negotiation when you're in a good doctoral program. And again, Dr. Tachi can attest to that. She is a professor. And then, so true, Dr. Tachi. Amazing info about climbing the corporate ladder, Wayne. All right, let's move on to our next.
Let's move on. Just take a look. Stay on that slide for a second. So you see net worth in green. White's going to have an advantage. They got a 400-year advantage. They should be richer. Okay, great. Equity in your home. Okay, this one's a problem because a lot of us are renter class and we're not buying. I've seen Black Americans sell brownstones in Brooklyn to buy mansions in Atlanta. No. You keep your brownstone in Brooklyn. You rent it out and you move to Atlanta. You do not sell New York for Atlanta. It's like selling Cabbagetown, Toronto to go live in Guelph. It don't make any sense. You keep that property because they're not making any more Toronto. It's locked. You got Vaughan to the north, Saga to the west, Pickering to the east, and Water to the south. They're not making any more Toronto. So the prices can only go up. Understand? Absolutely. All right. So let's look at equity in business, in profession. It's all there. All right.
Okay.
And then
So
nobody's investing in stocks. You look at retirement accounts are small. And what's the last category?
Assets. And financial institutions.
Buddy, you don't even see it. So this is my struggle. So I'm out here in these streets, as my daughter would say, Dad, you're out there in those streets trying to help people with their finances. And I go there and I see they open up their bank statement and just moths come out because there's nothing in there. And they're in their 40s and 50s. And they're looking to retire in 15 years. How are you going to retire in 15 years? If you don't have anything, no pension at work, no RSPs, no TFSAs, and you don't own a home, but you're in your 50s, it's red alert, bro. Red alert.
I think you need to do an episode called Red Alert.
Maybe it's the name of a book.
I'm being serious. Red Alert.
Okay, let's keep going.
Hey, there you go. There you go. All right. Let's move to the state in Canada, according to this, right? The Black economic wealth gap in Canada. So here we go. Education. So our first slide says education attainment trends show an uptick in the number of Black students enrolled in undergraduate and master's degrees programs in Canada, which has surpassed other racialized groups according to the latest census. Anything you want to say there?
You know what? Drake had a song, starting from the bottom. Now we're here. So we're going to have increase in numbers because we had very low numbers to begin with. So the percentage increase is going to be greater for us because everybody else has already understood the assignment. We're just starting to understand the assignment, so our numbers are going to grow faster. Right? Now, again, if you are Canadian, African, Canadian Black, and Roger's talking about we're Africans. True, we're all Africans. There's some people down there. I'm watching this movement with the Indigenous movement where people are saying there were Indigenous Blacks here, and a lot of the Indigenous people in South America and Central America were of African descent because Mansa Musa's brother came across many, many years ago, and the Olmechans and all the faces in the stone are Black faces. They look like you and me, Dr. Vibe. They don't look like anybody else. And there's that whole movement there, but there's still no debating the fact that there was a massive transatlantic slave trade, and the majority of us are going to have that blood in us. So it's true. I think Black as a social construct should be done away with, and we're African. If an Italian moves to New York, do they say they're New Yorker or do they say they're Italian?
Italian.
Exactly. If a German moves to LA, do they say they are white or do they say they're German?
German.
Exactly. So the boundaries that you came from should be how you identify yourself. Because when I tell people here in Jamaica that I'm Canadian, they're all afraid to ask the next question. But where are your parents from?
Yeah.
Where are your grandparents from? Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's take a look. So we are going to school, and this is good. But let me tell the family, school is great. More school rather than less school gives you a shot. But let me tell you, not since I got into the business of cybersecurity back in the day, and I saw the advent of the internet, have I seen a disruptive force like this little thing called artificial intelligence. And I know Dr. Tachi, this is her jam. So I'm going to leave that alone. But let me tell you, if we people who look like us do not embrace this tool and learn how to leverage it and contextualize it for our own gain, anything that we gained in the last 10, 15 years will be lost in the next 5 to 15. AI is that important to understanding it and learning how to use those tools to move faster.
Game changer.
It's a game changer.
No, it's a generation. It's a generational game changer.
A generational disruptor.
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed.
This is like the invention of the car and the wheel and flight. Okay. This is something that I don't want to hear 20 years from now when you and I are, just rocking on our porch and we're old men, and someone say,
we're not grumpy old men though.
I plan to be the crotchetiest old man ever. I can't wait. I can't wait to go and be a crotchety old man and go to Shoppers Drug Mart and say, "Where's my senior discount?" Listen, I want discounts at every restaurant for seniors. I want senior day movies prices. I want everything senior when I get there, and I'm going to make sure it happens. But I want our people to understand this. AI is not something you can dismiss.
No.
AI is something that's going to be foundational to what knowledge means. Because being able to regurgitate what AI can do and memorizing what AI can already do in 15 seconds, that can take you 2 hours,
yep,
is not valuable. It's the leveraging and the adaptation of the AI that's going to make it valuable. And if people don't understand that from our community, and by the way, all the prompting in AI, only as smart as the prompts. If you don't know how to prompt, you don't know how to get the value up. But if you are not putting diasporic prompts into AI, AI will not learn about the diaspora and will be left behind. Okay.
All right. Fitness IQ Camp says people that migrate to America are a bit different than in Canada. Eventually, they call themselves American.
Sure.
Dr. Tati says 100% Wayne. We need to embrace AI or be left behind. Fitness IQ doesn't want you to become a crotchety old man. and she says, crazy. She says, crazy the prompts I did last night. Interesting. A commentator said the other day, especially to Black people, saying, especially in America, and I think a little bit here, the immigrants from non-melanated countries that are coming in are taking the low-end jobs.
Yeah.
For Black, white-collar people, AI is taking a lot of white-collar jobs.
Yes. So as a person of African descent in the United States, you are the number one minority.
Yep.
For now. So I'm going to ask you this.
You know what? I'm gonna push back. I think more the Hispanic community. They've passed.
Not yet. The numbers aren't there yet.
Well, but I think the power is. I think maybe economic and political power, especially political power. Yes,
100%. Because here's what I'm going to say to the Blacks of African descent in the U.S. as the number two group. First of all, you were the number one group in the South until the end of slavery. You were number one. We had no power, right? Then you became number two. Whites run the whole country. Blacks were number two. And we got affirmative action. We got the Civil Rights Act. We got the Voting Rights Act. We got a number of amendments, and that was good for Black America. Great. Now here's the challenge. Since the death of Martin Luther King Jr. and all
that
the
anniversary was yesterday, by the way. That anniversary was yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. And since the death of King in '68, and all the gains Blacks have had from a government perspective, congressmen, senators, governors, local and state, all the different levels, chiefs of police, all that stuff in the last 50 years. Do we still have critical mass, and do we have economic power other than in Atlanta, other than in Baltimore and in some other places where we're predominantly Black? Do we have any economic power that we're shaping policy in the United States? And my answer to that, anecdotally, is no. Yeah. And this is a challenge, because when Hispanics and South Asians take over and we take the fourth spot, we didn't get anything done when we're in the second spot. How are we going to get anything done when we're in the fourth spot?
Exactly.
All right, let's keep going.
All right. And just some comments here. JJ Morris says AI stocks are a good long-term investment. Frequency Event Promotion says, great point, Wayne. Teach AI about our history is important, and a constructed and enforced paper trail. And then Dr. Tachi says, there continues to be a Latino migration in the U.S. I should say Latino rather than Hispanic. Correct me, those who are watching, and which is part of the reason for the numbers. And also, and she is in the U.S. She's in Florida specifically. The problem is too many of our elected officials are just there for the title. The ones who actually want to do something get so much pushback, it's futile. All right, so let's move on the slide. Keep on going. Canada employment. Black individuals account for 4.3% of the Canadian labor force in 2023 across industries. We see increasing representation in the number of Black employees. However, as you mentioned earlier, in America, at the managerial level, the number of Black individuals in those roles still lag behind other racial groups.
100%. So here's the challenge. Again, management, and having been a manager and having the term is ticket holder, hiring ticket holder. So you can have a title, but if you don't have the ability to hire people, you don't have a hiring ticket. You can say, Wayne said you're hired. If you can't do that, you're not really a manager. You have a title, but if somebody else has to defer that ticket, you don't really have any power. So take a look at the numbers. Management occupations, 2%. Professional, scientific, and technical, was that 3%?
3.1.
Finance and insurance, we're doing okay over there, right? I'm working on it. And then education, what we got?
3.1.
Right. And then we have health.
Health and social assistance, 6.8, which is the biggest one. And then natural and applied sciences and related occupations, 3.5%.
Right. So here's what the math is telling you. Again, there are objective subjects and there are subjective subjects. So science is objective. 2 + 2 is 4. Whether you're Black, you're white, you're Asian, you're Hispanic, Latino, whatever you want to call it, 2 + 2 is 4. So in those objective fields, that's where South Asians and Asians have cracked the code. They understand the assignment. If I go into those fields, they don't care if I'm brown. If I can do open heart surgery, you're going to use me. They don't care if I'm Asian. If I can sew back on your leg and save all the nerves, you will hire me. So we have to go into those fields, and our parents did that. My mother was a nurse, right? My father worked in the hospital. Why? Because you have nice union watching your back.
Absolutely.
Which you needed and probably still need to this day. So they did things that were objective, right? I don't remember any of the women aspiring to be doctors. Most of the women aspired to be nurses, right? You have to have someone tap you on the shoulder and say, listen, the way you're firing, I think you should go and continue on with your education and go for medicine. Now, maybe some people got a tap on the shoulder, but again, who's tapping you on the shoulder? 9 out of 10 times, the person doesn't look like you. They have to believe in you. My mother got tapped on the shoulder. She was a domestic working at a doctor's home in the best area code in Montreal. And the doctor saw her reading his medical books while she was dusting and said, "You interested in medicine?" She goes, "I would like to be a nurse." And advocacy is power, because he made one phone call. Done. And she had a job.
Done.
Right? And then she went to school and did what she had to do to put herself in position to win. I think we as a people, when we figure it out, we do this. We're not telling everybody. I figured it out for me. So I'm unique. I'm the exotic. And I'm going to be the only one of my kind in this company, because I don't want to bring anybody else in here and mess up my flex. I represent all things blackity, black at this company. I don't want anybody in here showing anybody any other perspective. So there's a little bit of that individualistic. So it glitched there for a second. Keep going.
Okay, so just some comments here. Dr. Tatch and Fitness IQ are going in on this. If you're African or Caribbean, I think one out of 5 mothers, or 5 mothers, were nurses, and of course you were expected to be a doctor or a lawyer. And then Fitness IQ says, our Discord going to the slide after? Probably, but definitely this conversation will be put up on the Discord, because I think everybody needs to look at this and listen to this. Next up, earnings by education. Despite gains in education, disparities still exist across racialized groups in terms of average earnings. So here we go.
Yeah, so look at the categories. Not a high school graduate. The average is 26 grand. Listen, you cannot live in Toronto. Please leave Toronto if you're making this kind of money. Just leave. Honestly, Calgary has good jobs. Edmonton has good jobs. Winnipeg has good jobs. If
hey,
you're
look,
make this kind of money,
even Yellowknife has good jobs.
Exactly. Nunavut has good jobs. Get out.
Yeah.
Pack your bags and get out of Toronto. Toronto is not for you if you're making this kind of money, if you're with any race. This is not the place, right? If you look at college, right, 40 grand, non-university certificates and diplomas. So there's a lot of these private schools that will do things that say, listen, you can go to Humber or Seneca or Centennial, Durham College, whatever, and Sheridan, and do a 3-year program to get a piece of paper But if you come to my private school and spend twice the money, I'll get you out there in 11 months. Okay? And a lot of people, these diploma mills, they go to these places, they come out and say, we're going to do a job in your field. And then you find out that you're working at Starbucks, no disrespect to Starbucks, but you're not working in your field, and you drop 40 grand for a paper that's worth, maybe $13,000 at Humber. So we have to watch ourselves in terms of the equivalencies. And again, if I'm going to go to school for 1, 2, or 3 years, and I'm going to come out and make less than 50 G's, I might want to consider that I'm taking the wrong course.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. And if you look at the bachelor's degree, you see people over there, 75, 72,000, and the racialized groups are on the bottom. I'm going to tell everyone one thing. When someone gives you an offer at a job and you say, hey, here's the offer, Dr. Vibe, it's $97,000. Okay? You only have one question to ask. The first question is this. Thank you very much for the offer. Is it negotiable?
You know how many people I've shared that line of yours to? And it's like, and right. Some of them say, am I allowed to ask that?
Exactly. Exactly, Dr. Vibe. Is it negotiable?
There you go.
And the second question is, yes, it is negotiable. Second question is, if this is not at the midpoint of the pay band for my level of experience, I'd like the number to reflect the midpoint or above. More of a statement than a question.
There you go.
I say, is it above the midpoint? That's the second question. Is it above the midpoint for the pay band for my level of experience? And if they say no, it is not, I say I like the midpoint.
There you go.
They have it to give you. HR is holding the cards. They can give you the midpoint or above. It depends on how you represent and how much competition it is for the role. But asking for the midpoint is not going to cost them to take the offer away from you. It's just going to let them know that you know the deal. Why work for 2 years to get to a point you can get on day one? And I think a lot of people are underpaid.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not asking these two questions.
And
is it negotiable? Is it the midpoint?
And I also will add on to that. It's not only in the area of the job workplace, also if you're an entrepreneur bidding on something.
Sure.
You got to know the power, man. More and more, I think there needs to be a webinar or course on the power of negotiation, how to negotiate. So many entrepreneurs that I encounter, that is a black hole.
Sign me up, Dr. Vibe. That's my game. I love
it. Well, we'll talk offline about that because I'd like to invite us. I'm amplifying about. We got to talk offline. There's some interesting opportunities I'd like to put and see even if they're virtual. I think there's some things that I know you'd provide great added value. So we'll continue on. And Dr. Taddy says those are great questions. Fitnets IQ says, how come Deloitte didn't put anything about trades?
Yeah, great question. I think that Deloitte only hires, until I got there, people with university degrees. I kind of broke the mold where I was punching above my weight class. But this is strictly for the traditional path. Let me tell you, skilled trades to our people is probably the biggest opportunity since the ending of slavery. That's how monumental it is for us to go into skilled trade. The money is so fantastic. The work is hard. The work is hard. I'm not gonna lie.
Absolutely.
But you know what? I know people who've had cancer and ulcers because they work in toxic environments in offices. Yeah. And I know people who work on the street doing cement work, asphalt work, and whatnot, who also have toxic boxes. But these people can do things on the weekend for cash to change their life. I've yet to meet, maybe financially, from a financial investment point of view, they're not very mature. But from a real estate perspective, these skilled trade folks do work. Imagine if you had a SWAT team of people you could trust. You could buy a house together cash, because if it's just 10 of you and the house costs $250,000, you put $25,000 in each, or you put $50,000 in each, and the house is $500,000. Now you're buying the house $500,000. There is no mortgage, so no bank is involved. You buy the house, asphalt guy comes in, concrete guy comes in, roof guy comes in, carpenter comes in, electrical guy comes in, plumber comes in. You all own a piece. You gourmet this place. Bring in the realtor, who's also a part of the family, stage the house, sell it for top dollar for $750,000. You've just made $250,000. Everybody gets back there, and you go do it again and again and again and again. You're doing it mortgage free, right?
Facts.
So skilled trade have a real advantage because last I checked, plumbing is plumbing. And I know that there are people down here in Jamaica that if they came from Montreal or Toronto or wherever and they were welders, they could come down here in Jamaica and work all winter long.
Like,
because welding is welding, plumbing is plumbing.
Yeah. And like, was it when I remember being in junior high, and there was a course called consumer ed, and this was way before its time. And I remember the teacher saying 3 people you need to know in your life: a good mechanic, a good bank person, and a good plumber.
Yeah.
I said that has rung in my head forever and ever. So add
a doctor, a lawyer, and an accountant.
Yes, if you have those, that's your team. That's your team. Robert
squad.
Bennett, the nod.ca. I just took a look at this website. It's actually a website that talks about negotiation.
Okay, good.
So thank you for providing that information. I'm actually going to put that as part of the show notes, the nod.ca. I'll share that but I just took a look at it really quick, and, negotiate before you have them. Yeah. So I'm going to check this out. I'm going to check it out and maybe put it as part of the notes. And Fitness IQ Cam says, yes, I've been trying to tell people that, Mr. Wayne, about getting in the skilled trades.
Oh, this is all day. If you have these boys, and I say boys because skilled trades is predominantly men, but these boys are not firing on, they don't want to do chemistry and physics and biology and calculus. They don't want to do it. And there's no one in their environment who's promoting it. But they see guys modifying cars and changing, 19-inch rims to 22-inch rims, changing the fenders on the car, adding spoilers in the back, tinting the windows, changing the sound system in the car. Remember back in the day, you had to pull out radio? Well, now people are changing out the main console for the car and putting in the big iPad-looking consoles and having a touchscreen. You can do that with older cars. Adding dash cameras to the front and the back, especially if you live anywhere in the West End, right? I'm not going to name the city that starts with a B and ends with an N, north of Mississauga. I'm not going to name it, but they have the highest insurance rates in the country.
In Canada.
In Canada. And if you have a front and back dash cam, you can see the foolishness.
Yeah.
And when someone does something to you in that part of town, you will have video evidence of said indiscretion. But let's keep going.
Absolutely. Just I just put it on all the platforms. But again, if you want to get a hold of Wayne, there's his contact information. But wherever you're watching this, other than Ryan's LinkedIn, it's in the comments section if you want to touch base with Wayne. All right, let's get to our next conversation piece, because we're getting there. Canada Household Net Worth.
Oh boy.
Across most income sources, Black Canadian households have included less wealth than other racialized groups. Imbalances in average salaries received by Black individuals, among other social economic phenomena, have a ripple effect on their ability to allocate income to investments, retirement savings, and other long-term streams. So this is the Canadian look as of 2021.
So I can tell you this. We're not saving because we're not making. So if you're making less money, you're going to have less money to save. But here's the other thing. Those who can save are saving and not investing. Saving is not investing. I'm going to say it again. Saving is not investing. Saving money for a rainy day and emergency fund is to have money set aside so if the furnace breaks down, the transmission blows, or you have to get to the Caribbean because one of your favorite aunties has passed away. That you save for. But your money needs to make money on the money, and that's investing. And we need to start investing. I'm not saying all your money needs to go into investing because it may not be there because the markets move up and down. But there's an allocation that we can put 10, 15% towards saving. And 80% of that money needs to be running like Taco Bell for the border. It needs to be moving. And most people are super conservative in their investing stance because they don't want to lose money. I don't want to lose money. I don't want to lose money. Well, there's ways to not lose money, and there's ways to avoid, not evade, avoid taxes on the transfer of the estate. The largest wealth transfer in the history of the modern world is happening right now.
Yep.
My father passed last year. I've seen just on Facebook the other day, another 3 guys are gone. Listen, the baby boomers, I'm not a boomer, I'm an X, but the boomers, the top end of the boomers are going through. They're now 74, 75 years old. They're coming through. In the next 10 years, trillions of dollars are going to transfer. If that money, if you don't know what you're doing, that money is going to get taxed. And Trudeau is looking like this. You guys don't know. He's going to take the money. Or you can have someone, I'm not going to name any names. I'll name one, Wayne Harris, and he can help you avoid unnecessary taxes and unnecessary delay in that transfer of wealth. Some of you out there have pensions, and the pension says, well, listen, if you have a spouse, the pension will transfer to the spouse. Well, is the pension transferring 100% or only 50% to the spouse? What if you don't have a spouse? Where does the pension go after you die? Well, it goes to the kids, does it? And what if the kids are over 25? What if you don't have kids? You worked your entire life. You're going to get that pension. You're going to give that back to the house? Are you kidding me? That money could go to, if you don't have kids and you don't have any relatives and you don't want to give the money to nobody, you can give it to JCA.
Yeah.
You can give it to the Walnut Foundation.
Yep.
You can give it to York University and have a chair.
Actually, not too much personality. Part of my dad's will is to give some money to the Cornwall College Old Boys Association, and also to his high school, Cornwall College in Jamaica.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
do not let the money. I'm going to have to do a seminar called "Don't Let the Money Go to the House."
Write it down. Write it down. Write it down.
All right. Next slide.
Okay. Just so Frequency of Emperor says, great conversation being had here. If you're just tuning in now, Fitness, I could tell the people in the back while I say in the front. and Frequency says, great point, Mr. Harris. All right, let's get to the next slide. This is really good stuff. So what is working and what more can be done? All right. Corporate catalysts drive change in the Black wealth graph. Corporations can drive progress by implementing a wider range of strategic corporate initiatives. Anything you want to say here?
All I'm going to say is this: in order to get a seat at the table, you have to know a table exists. So people that look like us who are in these places and spaces, I see them all over LinkedIn celebrating themselves and whatnot. They've been doing advocacy. I know these people. I've been in Toronto 34 years. I've seen these people throughout their careers helping people and mentoring. They can only do so much. The generation that has come in behind them who have benefited from them being there, myself included, I want to see more of them stepping up. You don't need to be a big time executive in a company in order to give people insight. I wasn't a big time executive. I was helping people. So the people who are in their 30s and early 40s who are midway through their career can still help a new person coming in to the industry and give them insights. Hey, here's the courses you should take. Here's the books you should read. Here's the conferences you should attend. Hey, you can't afford the conference? Hey, how about you volunteer? That's the move. You volunteer at the conference. You get access to everything for free. Why wouldn't you go and volunteer at the so-and-so conference? Listen, Harry Jerome Awards is going to have 16 or 20 winners. Guess what? How about you be a volunteer at the Harry Jerome Awards? You get to meet all the winners. And you didn't pay a dime to be there.
Let's put it this way. And another thing I'm going to add on to, well, I'll add in just a second. So Fitness IQ Cam says, good point. Enough men say they don't want to give their money to ladies that don't deserve it. But back to the government. But here's another thing. And if you volunteer, especially for people who are younger, one of the things that bothers me when people volunteer, they don't give 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, people, if you give 100% while you're doing something and you're doing it volunteer-wise, you stand out. And that could lead to other opportunities along the way. I'll leave it at that.
I agree. Listen,
I'll just leave it at that.
Any association out there always needs people on the executive. But when you're going to be a new person going into the executive, don't try to be president. They don't know you, you don't know them. The first job you should get when you join any association should be the job of secretary. Why? Because if you're secretary, you have access to the membership base.
Information, data.
Right. So when you're registering people and say, oh, what's your name? Ed Gow. Here's your name, Ed Gow. You shook Ed Gow's hand. Ed Gow, we haven't had time. I'm here registering people, but I would like to follow you on LinkedIn. Can I add you on LinkedIn? Ed will say, fine. Yes, sure. And then you move on. Say, hi, Ed, I met you. I was at the table. I was a secretary at this association. My career mirrors yours, blah, 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 blah. And now you just started a conversation. Volunteerism. So if you look at the four, they're talking about mentorship and sponsorship programs. Sure, that they're formal and informal. All companies have both. Employee resource groups. I was a member of BAM, Blacks at Microsoft. I was a member of the Visible Minority Council at IBM. Every major company usually has them, and there are people there who can advocate for you. Diversity and anti-bias training. This is evolving and changing as DEI takes its lumps, and we knew it would. It was just a matter of time. The echo of George Floyd is getting softer and softer, and as the echo moves along, those who didn't put real bones into the business of DEI are going to fade to black. We'll see what the Black North Initiative can do to keep that alive. Is yet to be seen. Supplier diversity initiatives. This is a lot. In the United States, they have minority business groups, and they have to have procurement through those groups. Canada has that too for the indigenous. I do not know if they have it for people of African descent, but I know they have it for the indigenous, and maybe we should be at the forefront in helping people like Michael Couteau and those who represent us at the federal level and the provincial level. We have provincial representatives
and local level.
And local level,
especially the local, especially at the local.
Listen, if you can cut grass at City Hall, you can cut grass at City Hall and get paid, right? If you can cut grass, you can cut grass at schools and get paid.
Absolutely. Look, I one thing I've noticed more and more African melanated garbage men.
Yes, I'm seeing that too.
Seeing more and more of that, and family. That's a good job, and they won't have to work all their lives because they got good union pension, right? That's so don't think it's a bad job because they only have to probably work half as long as someone that's in a white collar job to get the benefits of pension and things like that. We'll move on. Frequency and volunteerism done the right way is the best way to get your dream job. You know what? I don't know if there's that's a whole other conversation about a dream job, because I think more and more, I don't know if people want a job, but that's a whole other conversation.
Facts.
Fitness says good job, just to wash up your hand before me see.
Fitness IQ Cam is on fire today. She's on fire.
All right, let's move on forward. Let's get to the end. So, breaking barriers, diversifying corporate leadership for economic equality. So these are suggestions for the corporate world. Anything?
No, listen. The bottom line is corporations have two mandates. Mandate number one, make a profit. Mandate number two, increase shareholder value.
Yep.
If you don't help them do those two things, being black will not help you. So we need to understand the assignment of the corporation.
Yeah.
Profits and increase shareholder value. All the other things they talk about are if those first two things are taken care of.
Exactly.
Okay? So we need to position ourselves to win. And in order to do that, we need to come to the table with certain skills. What's missing in the Black community overall is the ingredients are there, but the recipe is not. And the recipe comes just like it came for your grandmother on how to make that ham, or how to make that oxtail, or how to make that sweetbread. Those are the recipes. You have the ingredients, you have the DNA. Now we need the recipes. The recipes come from people who have made what you're trying to make already. So if the blind can't be leading the blind, but those who can see have to see that you're not going to be, and I'll say it again, listen to me, I'm Bajan, so listen clearly. You don't want to be an ask hole. Asking a bag of questions, and when I see you the next time around, you're still exactly where we were the last time, because you didn't do anything of what I told you you need to do in order to get yourself to the next level, because Your reward when you're being mentored by me or someone who has mentored me is your reward is another series of tasks. And you go out and do those tasks and you come back, you report on those tasks, what worked, what didn't work, what could be better. And we give you another series of tasks. If you're not looking to grow, I'm not your guy, because you will you will not be able to frustrate me, because all of a sudden you say, ghost, what happened to Wayne? I can't get him. I can't get on his calendar. Anytime I book him, he cancels and says we need to reschedule. And all of a sudden you'll fade to black, because you're wasting not just my time, you're wasting my life.
Not only that, they're wasting their time and they don't even realize it.
All right, let's finish up, Dr. Vibe.
Yep. Okay, let's get it run through ways to draw economic. This is a whole. We need to speak another time about this, ways of empowering Black entrepreneurs.
So they show you all the entities that are there. So there's the Canadian Black Entrepreneurship Program, Black Opportunity Fund, run by some friends of mine. It's fantastic. Keep going. Then we have Black North Initiative, West Hall, and Black and Professional Association, BPA, and so on.
So here we go. It's more than so. There we go. It's more than acknowledging the challenges, about seizing the opportunities to uplift, empower, and pave the way for equitable prosperity. And that's it. Slide done.
Slide done. So there you go. I saw that. I said this had to be discussed.
100%. 100%. Well, look, I know a beach is waiting.
Yes.
So I want
coconut water.
And
I got water.
Well, yeah, and I love that bottle. I love that bottle when I get water. But again, thanks for all you do. Looking forward and actually, it's interesting because there are some people I've introduced to Wayne. Some have done some haven't, but you know what? We just put it out there. What you do with it. And I think a lot of people, you sell yourselves short because your lived experience is of value. People don't think their lived experience is of value. So any final words, Wayne, before we let you go to the beach?
Sir, it's my honor and privilege to be a part of your show.
It is mine.
That I was checking the Wi-Fi from the time I got here, because I said on Friday is go time. It's go time, and I gotta have my Wi-Fi ready for Dr. Vibe show and for the family. Well, I think that we are winning more than we're losing. You gotta look at what you're focusing on. But I think that I'm going to bring a series of books to the table for my next my next show.
Yes,
because I want to talk to you guys about some of the things that will help you, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you are in the corporate world. Some things are going to help build muscle for you to get your career in the direction that you want to go. So I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about that next month.
Well, and the thing is, especially when I'm all about collaboration, and when he gets back, because I don't want to bother him, or I may send him a video message, there's a potential at least one or two potential opportunities that will expand a whole new audience to him.
Okay.
So as always, my brother, you and your family, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Make sure you give yourselves grace, and big love to Mrs. Harris, Angie, the judo queen.
She's in the back off camera. She's shy.
Yes, I know. She's waiting. I saw her wave. All right. Be well. Enjoy. Safe trip back, but also safe time there. Thank you again.
Peace.
All right, family. Now that's what you got to appreciate. A gentleman, him and his dear wife, they're enjoying Montego Bay, Jamaica. And he makes it. He says, the first thing I did, I had to get my Wi-Fi right. All right. So let's wind it all up here. So let's get some things going here. We've got a few more comments we're going to get off right quick. Dr. Tachi says, thanks, Wayne. Fitness IQ says, thank you, Wayne. And Fitness IQ says, I have many books to read. Well, Wayne next month is going to come with more. So you just be ready. You know Wayne comes with a fire. So let's get some things going here. Okay. As always, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To advertise your business, product, or service on the platform, please email me dr.vibe@thedr.vibe.com, and then join the Morning Vibe Discord group. please email me, dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. Remember, you can catch replays on a number of places, but big up to Indie Soup Media TV. There's the platform, Facebook, YouTube, and Roku. Coming up on Monday's show, Kel Nicole will be talking from Energy Shack Juice Bar. So we talk about belly fat, and maybe Wayne will have some when he comes back. Being polite, Wayne, being polite. So we got 3 more quick comments, and we're going to call it a day. All right. Opal Inspired, great conversation. Make sure you follow her on YouTube. She's causing some serious noise on YouTube. And Fitness IQ, bat tax season, so I'll switch to audiobooks. Good. And she's saying, rest day today. Well, you put enough energy out today, you deserve a rest. So let's get it on. All right. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. Thank you so much, everybody. And make sure, tell people about the platform. All right, share it out, share it out, share it out. God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith and walk good. And I'm pretty sure Ryan will be with us on Monday, but I'll make sure he's okay. Take care, everybody.